Life has a way of throwing challenges at us. Seems like every time we catch our breath, another wave comes crashing down. It could be financial struggles, health issues, broken relationships, or even battles with our own thoughts and emotions. Sometimes the weight of these problems feels unbearable, and we're left questioning how much more we can endure. But in these moments, we need to pause, take a deep breath, and remind ourselves of one powerful truth: God is bigger than our problems. When we face adversity, it's easy to get caught up in the enormity of the situation. The bills pile up, the pain lingers, the job search goes on, and it feels like the walls are closing in. We start focusing on what's wrong, magnifying our struggles until they seem insurmountable. But let me tell you something: no problem in this world is greater than the one who created it. God is not intimidated by your circumstances. He isn't surprised by your challenges, and He isn't overwhelmed by your fears. In fact, He's already seen the outcome and prepared a way through it for you. It's natural to feel fear when we face difficulties. We're human, after all. But fear has a way of distorting our perspective. It convinces us that our problems are bigger than they really are. Imagine standing at the foot of a mountain. Up close, it looks massive, unscalable. But what happens when you take a step back, maybe even view it from the window of an airplane? That same mountain looks small, almost insignificant. This is the perspective we gain when we place our problems in God's hands. Suddenly, what seemed impossible becomes manageable because we realize we're not facing it alone. Think about this: if God could part the Red Sea for the Israelites, feed thousands with a few loaves and fish, and calm a raging storm with just His voice, what makes us think He can't handle our problems? These stories aren't just ancient tales, they're reminders of His power and His willingness to intervene in our lives. They show us that God is not limited by what we see as limitations. He operates in the realm of the impossible, turning what we see as obstacles into opportunities for His glory. I know it's hard to trust when you're in the thick of it. It's hard to believe that things will get better when everything around you screams otherwise. But faith isn't about what you can see. Faith is about believing in what you can't see and trusting that God is working behind the scenes. It's about saying, God, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust that you do, and let me tell you, there's freedom in that kind of trust. It takes the pressure off you and places it on the one who can actually handle it. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of who God is. He's not just a distant being watching from the sidelines. He's a loving Father who cares deeply about you. He knows every detail of your life, every tear you've cried, every sleepless night. And He cares. He's not indifferent to your pain. In fact, He promises to be close to the brokenhearted and to save those who are crushed in spirit. You're not alone in this. But let's be honest, trusting God doesn't mean the problem will disappear overnight. It doesn't mean you won't have to walk through tough seasons. What it does mean is that you'll have the strength to face those seasons. It means you'll have peace that doesn't make sense in the middle of chaos. It means you'll have hope when everything feels hopeless. And most importantly, it means you'll have the assurance that your story isn't over yet. I want you to think about the moments in your life when you thought you wouldn't make it through. Maybe it was a loss, a failure, or a setback. At the time, it felt like the end, didn't it? But here you are, standing on the other side of it. You're stronger, wiser, and more resilient because of it. And if God brought you through those moments, what makes you think He won't bring you through this one? He didn't bring you this far just to leave you now. It's also important to remember that our struggles aren't just about us. They're opportunities for God to show His power and for us to grow in faith. When we come out on the other side of a problem, we have a testimony to share, a story of how God made a way when there seemed to be no way. That testimony has the power to inspire and encourage others who are facing their own battles. So don't despise your struggles. See them as a canvas where God can paint His masterpiece. And let's not forget the power of gratitude in the midst of trials. It's so easy to focus on what's wrong that we forget to acknowledge what's right. Even in the darkest moments, there's always something to be thankful for. Gratitude shifts our focus from our problems to God's blessings, from what we lack to what we have. It's a reminder that despite our circumstances, God is still good and He's still faithful. Life has a way of testing us. Just when we think we have things under control, an unexpected challenge comes our way. It might be financial struggles, health problems, relationship issues, or simply the mental and emotional weight of navigating through a tough season. These moments can leave us feeling drained, frustrated, and overwhelmed. The sheer magnitude of our problems can make us feel small, powerless, and stuck in a cycle that seems unending. When challenges arise, it's natural to feel overwhelmed. Our minds race with questions: why is this happening to me? How am I going to get through this? What if things get worse? These thoughts can spiral, turning our problems into mountains that feel impossible to climb. Fear and worry creep in, making everything seem even more daunting. It's as though the weight of the world is resting on our shoulders and we don't know where to find relief. In these moments, it's important to acknowledge that feeling overwhelmed is a natural response to hardship. We are human, and it's okay to feel the weight of our struggles. But what's not okay is allowing that weight to crush our hope or paralyze our ability to move forward. While the challenges we face might be significant, they are not insurmountable. The first step toward overcoming them is shifting our perspective. It's easy to focus on what's wrong, magnifying the problem until it consumes our thoughts. But what if we started to look at the situation differently? What if we saw challenges as opportunities for growth, as moments that can build our resilience and character? What if we believed that even in the darkest times, there's a light at the end of the tunnel? The truth is, life's challenges are not meant to destroy us. They are a part of the human experience, shaping us into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. While the road may be difficult, it's important to remember that we are never alone. There is always a way forward, even when we can't see it immediately. By taking one step at a time and keeping our faith, we can navigate through the toughest seasons of life. No matter how overwhelming a problem may seem, God's power is infinitely greater. We often view our challenges through the lens of our human limitations, measuring them against our abilities, resources, and understanding. But God operates on a completely different level. He is the creator of the universe, the one who spoke the stars into existence, and the one who knows the end from the beginning. His power has no boundaries, and His ability to intervene in our lives is unmatched. When we face difficulties, it's easy to magnify our problems and minimize God's ability to solve them. We allow fear, doubt, and anxiety to take control, convincing ourselves that the situation is hopeless. But the truth is, there is no problem too big for God to handle. Whether it's a financial crisis, a devastating loss, or an impossible situation, God is not intimidated. He is fully capable of doing what seems impossible to us. The Bible is filled with examples of God demonstrating his power over seemingly insurmountable problems. He parted the Red Sea to rescue his people from their enemies. He fed thousands with just a few loaves of bread and fish. He healed the sick, raised the dead, and calmed the storms. These stories are not just historical accounts, they are reminders of who God is, an all-powerful, loving Father who cares deeply about his children and their struggles. The key to accessing God's power in our lives is faith. Faith doesn't deny the reality of our problems, but recognizes the greater reality of God's sovereignty and strength. It's about shifting our focus from the size of the problem to the size of our God. When we trust in him, we invite his power to work in and through us, transforming situations and bringing hope where there was none. God's power doesn't just solve problems, it also strengthens us to endure them. Sometimes his solution isn't to remove the challenge, but to walk with us through it, building our character and deepening our faith. When we understand that God is greater than any problem, we can face life's challenges with confidence, knowing that nothing is beyond his reach. Fear has a way of taking our struggles and making them appear far bigger than they actually are. It magnifies our challenges, amplifying their weight until they feel insurmountable. When fear takes hold, it narrows our perspective, focusing solely on the problem and blinding us to possible solutions or the strength available to us. We begin to feel trapped, hopeless, and overwhelmed, as though our situation will never improve. Fear thrives on uncertainty. It whispers worst-case scenarios into our minds, convincing us that failure, loss, or pain are inevitable. It exaggerates the problem, making it seem larger than life, and undermines our confidence in ourselves and our ability to overcome. More dangerously, fear also distances us from God. It clouds our trust in his promises, causing us to doubt his power and his willingness to intervene in our lives. In the grip of fear, our problems feel bigger than God. Faith, however, does the exact opposite. Faith doesn't deny the existence of challenges, but it refuses to give them more power than they deserve. It shifts our focus from the problem to the one who is greater than any problem. Faith reminds us of God's sovereignty, his faithfulness, and his ability to work all things for our good. Where fear says, "What if it all goes wrong?" faith says, "Even if it does, God will make a way." Faith shrinks our struggles because it redefines them in the context of God's power and love. It helps us see our challenges not as barriers, but as opportunities for growth and trust. It allows us to take bold steps forward, even when the path is unclear, because we know we're not walking alone. Faith brings peace in the midst of chaos, replacing anxiety with assurance and despair with hope. Overcoming fear requires a deliberate choice to trust God, even when everything in us wants to panic. It's about feeding our faith through prayer, scripture, and reflection on God's past faithfulness. When we anchor ourselves in him, fear loses its grip, and our problems lose their power. Faith doesn't always eliminate the struggle, but it transforms how we face it, giving us the courage to move forward with strength and purpose. God's miracles serve as powerful reminders of his limitless power and unwavering ability to intervene in our lives. Throughout history, and even in our own experiences, God has shown time and again that he is not bound by the constraints of human understanding or the laws of nature. His miracles reveal his authority over creation, his deep care for his people, and his willingness to act on behalf of those who trust him. The Bible is filled with extraordinary accounts of God performing miracles to deliver, heal, and provide for his people. He parted the Red Sea, allowing the Israelites to escape from Pharaoh's army. He made water flow from a rock in the desert to sustain them. Jesus turned water into wine, healed the blind, and raised Lazarus from the dead. These are not just ancient stories, they are vivid illustrations of God's power and his ability to make a way when there seems to be no way. These miracles are reminders that nothing is too difficult for God. What seems impossible to us is entirely possible for him. A problem that appears insurmountable from our perspective is easily overcome by his power. His miracles remind us that he is not limited by time, space, or circumstance. He can move mountains, calm storms, and change the course of history with a single word. But miracles aren't just about solving problems. They also serve to build our faith. Each time God performs a miracle, he reinforces the truth that he is with us and for us. They encourage us to trust him more deeply, knowing that the same God who performed great wonders in the past is still at work today. His miracles are evidence of his love and his desire to see his children thrive. Even when we don't witness a miracle in the way we expect, we can trust that God's power is still at work. Sometimes the greatest miracles happen within us, healing our hearts, renewing our minds, and giving us peace and strength to endure. God's miracles remind us that he is not just capable, but eager to demonstrate his power in our lives, assuring us that no problem is beyond his reach. Trusting God is the key to experiencing peace and freedom, even in the midst of life's most challenging circumstances. When we place our trust in him, we acknowledge that he is in control and that his plans for us are good, even when we don't fully understand them. Trusting God means surrendering the weight of our worries and allowing him to carry the burdens that we were never meant to bear. When we rely on our own strength to navigate life's challenges, we often find ourselves overwhelmed, anxious, and exhausted. We try to control every detail, fix every problem, and anticipate every outcome, but life doesn't always cooperate. The more we strive to control, the more we realize how little control we actually have, and that realization can lead to fear and frustration. Trusting God, however, offers an entirely different approach. It invites us to rest in the assurance that he is in charge and that he has a plan for every situation. Peace comes when we let go of the need to figure everything out and allow God to guide us. It's the kind of peace that doesn't make sense to the world, the peace that surpasses all understanding. This peace doesn't come from the absence of problems, but from the presence of God. It's knowing that no matter how difficult the journey, he is walking beside us, providing strength, wisdom, and comfort every step of the way. Trusting God also brings freedom from the chains of worry, fear, and self-doubt. When we trust him, we're no longer bound by the need to have all the answers. We don't have to carry the pressure of being perfect or fear the unknown, because we know that he is in control. This freedom allows us to live fully and boldly, embracing life with confidence and joy, because our security doesn't come from our circumstances, but from our relationship with him. Learning to trust God is a process. It requires daily surrender and a willingness to step out in faith, even when the path ahead is unclear. But as we trust him more, we begin to experience the profound peace and freedom that only he can provide, a peace that sustains us and a freedom that empowers us to live the abundant life he has promised. One of the most comforting truths we can hold on to is that God cares deeply about each of us and the struggles we face. In a world that can sometimes feel cold, indifferent, or overwhelming, knowing that the Creator of the universe is intimately aware of and invested in our lives is profoundly reassuring. God's care is personal, intentional, and unwavering, and it extends to every detail of our existence. The Bible repeatedly affirms God's deep care for his children. Psalm 34:18 tells us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. This verse is a reminder that God isn't distant or detached during our hardships. Instead, he draws near to us, offering his presence, comfort, and strength when we need it most. His heart is moved by our pain, and he is always ready to extend his love and compassion. God's care is evident in the way he knows us so intimately. Jesus said in Matthew 10:30 that even the hairs on our heads are numbered. This isn't just a poetic expression, it's a powerful statement of how deeply God values and understands us. He knows our fears, our tears, our hopes, and our dreams. Nothing we experience is too small or insignificant for him to notice. When we face struggles, it's easy to feel forgotten or abandoned, but God's care is constant. He sees our silent battles, hears our unspoken prayers, and knows the burdens we carry in our hearts. His love is not conditional on our performance or limited by our circumstances. Even when we falter, doubt, or feel unworthy, his care remains steadfast. He is a loving Father who delights in comforting his children and providing for their needs. God's care also extends to his plans for us. Jeremiah 29:11 reassures us that he has plans to prosper us and not to harm us, plans to give us hope and a future. This doesn't mean life will always be easy, but it does mean that our struggles are never meaningless. God is actively working in every situation, weaving even our pain and difficulties into a greater purpose. When we embrace the truth of God's deep care, we find the courage to face life's challenges with hope. Knowing that we are loved by him gives us strength, peace, and the assurance that we are never alone in our struggles. Trusting God doesn't mean that our problems will disappear. In fact, life will still present us with challenges, difficulties, and setbacks because we live in an imperfect world. However, the act of trusting God transforms the way we navigate through those problems. Trusting God doesn't eliminate the presence of trials, but it strengthens us to face them with courage, hope, and resilience. When we trust God, we are not denying the reality of our struggles. Instead, we are choosing to acknowledge that, despite the difficulties we face, God is still in control and has a purpose in the midst of it all. Trusting God means that, while we may not understand the reasons for our problems, we believe that he is working in and through them for our ultimate good. It's about having the assurance that even when the road is tough, we are never alone. God is walking beside us, providing his strength and guidance every step of the way. This trust in God also gives us the strength to endure. When we trust in our own ability or resources, we may quickly run out of energy or ideas, and our hope can start to fade. But when we trust in God's power and wisdom, we tap into an unlimited source of strength. Isaiah 40:31 promises that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. God's strength doesn't run out, and he gives us the endurance to keep going, even when we feel like giving up. Trust also changes our perspective on problems. Instead of viewing them as insurmountable obstacles, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth and for God to show his faithfulness. Trusting God enables us to face each challenge with an attitude of expectation, knowing that he is using it to shape us and make us more resilient. It helps us to remain calm and steady in the face of adversity, recognizing that problems are temporary, but God's presence and power are eternal. Trust in God empowers us to move forward with peace even in the midst of the storm. Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us that by presenting our concerns to God through prayer, we can experience a peace that transcends all understanding. This peace doesn't mean the problems are gone, but it means we can rest in the knowledge that God has it under control, and we are safe in His hands. Trusting God doesn't take away our problems, it transforms how we approach them. It strengthens us, deepens our faith, and empowers us to overcome challenges with confidence, knowing that the God who has brought us this far will continue to be with us in every circumstance. Reflecting on God's faithfulness through past challenges can be a powerful reminder of His unchanging character and His ability to carry us through difficult times. Looking back at the times we've faced hardship and seeing how God provided for us, strengthened us, or guided us offers us assurance that He will continue to be faithful in the future. Throughout Scripture, we see God's faithfulness in action. In the Old Testament, God led the Israelites through the wilderness, providing manna from heaven, parting the Red Sea, and ensuring that they were never abandoned despite their doubts and failures. In the New Testament, we see how Jesus continually demonstrated faithfulness to His disciples, teaching them, correcting them, and ultimately sacrificing Himself for their salvation. The Bible shows us that God is not a distant observer. He is actively involved in our lives, and His faithfulness is unwavering. In our own lives, we may not experience dramatic miracles like the parting of the Red Sea, but we all have testimonies of God's faithfulness. Whether it's a time when He provided for us in unexpected ways, gave us strength during a health crisis, or guided us through difficult relationships, these moments are tangible reminders of His love and care. Sometimes when we face new challenges, we forget how God has come through for us in the past. It's in these moments that we need to pause and reflect on how He has already shown Himself faithful in our lives. When we look back at our past challenges, we can see that, even when it felt like things would never improve, God was present with us every step of the way. Sometimes His faithfulness is shown in ways we don't immediately understand, but later we can look back and see how He was working things out for our good. This reflection builds our trust in God because it reinforces the truth that He hasn't failed us before and He won't fail us now. God's faithfulness in the past also gives us the courage to face future challenges. When we encounter new struggles, we can remember how God walked with us through previous trials, providing the strength, wisdom, and peace we needed. The same God who was faithful to us then is the same God who will be with us now. And this knowledge can strengthen our resolve and give us confidence to press forward. God's faithfulness through past challenges is not just about remembering what He has done. It's about building a deeper relationship with Him and growing in trust. As we recall His faithfulness, we are reminded of His constant presence, His unchanging love, and His ability to make a way even when there seems to be no way. Struggles are an inevitable part of life, but when viewed through the lens of faith, they can become powerful opportunities for growth and testimony. It's easy to see challenges as obstacles meant to break us down, but in God's hands, they can be transformed into stepping stones that lead to greater strength, resilience, and purpose. One of the most profound truths about struggles is that they shape our character. James 1:2-4 tells us to consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Struggles have the ability to refine us, much like a refiner's fire that purifies metal. Through hardship, our faith is tested and strengthened, and we are equipped with the perseverance necessary to face future challenges. Without these struggles, we might never discover the depth of our own inner strength or the full extent of God's faithfulness. Struggles also provide opportunities for us to grow in our dependence on God. In times of difficulty, we are often reminded of how limited our own strength and understanding can be. We come face to face with our vulnerabilities, our weaknesses, and our need for God. When we reach the end of ourselves, we are often led to the beginning of trusting in God more deeply. These moments of surrender deepen our relationship with God, teaching us to rely on Him rather than our own resources or abilities. In this way, struggles can cultivate a more intimate connection with God, allowing us to experience His grace and power in ways we might never have understood without them. Struggles provide us with a powerful testimony that can encourage others. Every hardship we endure can become a testimony of God's faithfulness, strength, and provision. When we overcome challenges, we can share our story with others, offering them hope and encouragement in their own struggles. Our testimony of how God has worked in our lives serves as a living example of His goodness, reminding others that they are not alone in their pain, and that God is with them too. As we go through tough times and emerge stronger, we become a witness to the world of God's transformative power. In addition, struggles help us develop empathy for others. When we face hardship, we gain a deeper understanding of the pain and difficulties that others may be going through. This compassion allows us to walk alongside others in their own struggles, offering them the support, encouragement, and love that we receive during our own difficult times. Our experiences become a bridge that connects us to others and enables us to be a source of comfort and strength to those in need. Struggles, while difficult, are not without purpose. They are opportunities for growth, refining our character, and deepening our faith. They are also chances to develop a testimony that can encourage others and reflect the goodness of God. When we face struggles with the right perspective, understanding that they are tools for our growth and instruments of God's purpose, our outlook changes. And we can approach challenges with greater hope, resilience, and trust in God's plan for our lives. Gratitude, especially during difficult times, holds transformative power. In the midst of hardship, it can be easy to focus on what's wrong, what's missing, or what's causing us pain. Our natural instinct may be to complain, to question, or to feel despair. However, choosing gratitude, no matter how challenging it may seem, can shift our perspective, strengthen our faith, and bring peace to our hearts. One of the most powerful aspects of gratitude is its ability to shift our focus. When life feels overwhelming, it's all too easy to get consumed by the negative. We start to see only the struggles, the losses, and disappointments. But practicing gratitude forces us to look at the good that still exists in our lives. It's not about denying our pain or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. Rather, it's about intentionally choosing to recognize the blessings, however small they may seem. This shift in focus doesn't diminish the reality of our difficulties, but it reminds us that there is always something to be thankful for, even in the most trying of circumstances. Gratitude also helps us build resilience. When we choose to be grateful, we are exercising a powerful form of mental and emotional strength. It's easy to fall into a victim mentality when life gets tough, but gratitude enables us to take a step back and recognize that we are not entirely defined by our challenges. By focusing on the good, we are empowered to face our difficulties with a more positive mindset. It shifts our approach from feeling powerless to feeling equipped with strength and hope. Gratitude allows us to see beyond our immediate struggles, recognizing that, with God's help, we can overcome them. In difficult times, gratitude also strengthens our faith. The act of thanking God, even when things aren't going well, is an expression of trust. It's a recognition that God is still good, even in the face of adversity. Gratitude in hardship says, I trust that you are at work in my life. Even when I don't understand what's happening, this act of trust and surrender deepens our relationship with God, reminding us that He is with us through every season, working in all things for our good. Gratitude is a reminder that God's presence is not contingent upon our circumstances, it is constant, and He remains faithful. Moreover, gratitude has a ripple effect. When we choose to express gratitude, whether in prayer, journaling, or simply reflecting on the things we're thankful for, we create an atmosphere of hope and joy. This practice can transform not only our own hearts, but also the way we interact with others. Gratitude allows us to share hope, encouragement, and love with those around us, offering a light in their own darkness. It becomes a testimony of God's goodness and faithfulness, and in sharing our gratitude, we spread a sense of peace and positivity. Gratitude reminds us that life is a gift, and even in our hardest moments, there is beauty and purpose to be found. It teaches us to cherish the present, to recognize the value in every day, and to appreciate the moments of grace that still surround us. It is an act of surrender that acknowledges we may not have control over all aspects of our lives, but we can choose to be thankful for the many blessings we do have. In doing so, gratitude becomes a powerful tool for transformation in difficult times, enabling us to face life's challenges with greater strength, perspective, and peace. God's promises are a source of hope and assurance, providing a firm foundation for our faith in the midst of life's uncertainties. In times of struggle, doubt, or fear, His promises are like an anchor, holding us steady and reminding us of His faithfulness and goodness. The beauty of God's promises is that they are not based on our circumstances, feelings, or performance. They are rooted in His unchanging character. Throughout Scripture, God makes numerous promises to His people, and every one of them is guaranteed by His sovereignty and power. For instance, in Romans 8:28, we are assured that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This promise reminds us that no matter how challenging life may be, God is working in every situation for our benefit. Even when we don't see the good immediately, we can trust that He is weaving His perfect plan for us. This promise brings comfort and hope, knowing that there is purpose in every season and that God's plans for us are always for our good. Another powerful promise is found in Philippians 4:6-7, where we are told to do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. This promise assures us that God is near, and that when we come to Him with our worries, He will provide us with peace that goes beyond what we can comprehend. This peace is not dependent on our circumstances, but is a direct result of trusting in His presence and His ability to care for us. God's promises also offer us assurance of His presence. In Isaiah 41:10, God says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." This is a reminder that no matter where we are or what we face, God is with us, providing strength, comfort, and support. His presence is a constant source of hope, knowing that we are never alone. God's promises give us hope for the future. In Jeremiah 29:11, God assures us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." No matter how bleak the present may seem, this promise reminds us that God's ultimate plan for us is filled with hope, purpose, and a future that is good in His sight. When we hold on to God's promises, we are reminded that our hope is not in our own abilities or understanding, but in the one who is faithful to fulfill his word. These promises offer us the assurance that God's love is unwavering, his presence is constant, and his plans are always good. They encourage us to trust him more deeply, knowing that he will never leave us nor forsake us, Deuteronomy 31:6. In every season of life, God's promises bring hope that he is working in our lives and will bring about his perfect plan for us. In life, we all face moments where challenges seem insurmountable, and we may feel overwhelmed by the weight of our struggles. Whether it's health issues, relationship difficulties, financial burdens, or emotional pain, it's easy to think that the obstacles we face are too great for us to overcome. However, with God, you can overcome anything. His power, strength, and faithfulness are greater than any problem you may encounter. No matter how large the mountain before you seems, God's ability to help you rise above it is limitless. The key to overcoming anything with God is not about relying on your own strength, but trusting in his. In Philippians 4:13, the Apostle Paul declares, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." This is a powerful reminder that on our own, we may not have the resources or the energy to tackle life's greatest challenges. But with Christ's strength within us, there is nothing that is beyond our reach. His power works through our weakness, turning our limitations into opportunities for his glory. When we put our faith in God, we begin to see challenges as opportunities for growth, faith, and transformation. The very difficulties that seem to weigh us down can become stepping stones that lead to a deeper relationship with God and a stronger sense of purpose. Romans 8:37 tells us, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." Through God's love and strength, we don't just overcome our problems, we emerge stronger, wiser, and more equipped for the future. It's important to remember that overcoming doesn't always mean the immediate removal of a problem, but rather the inner transformation that happens as we trust in God's timing and his will for our lives. Through his power, we gain the resilience to endure, the faith to trust, and the peace to know that we are never alone in our struggles. No matter what you're facing, know that with God you can overcome anything. His promises are sure, his faithfulness is unwavering, and his power is unmatched. Whatever trial you may be walking through today, trust that God will provide the strength, guidance, and peace you need to overcome. Keep pressing forward with him by your side, and you will experience his victory in your life. May you find strength, peace, and courage in knowing that God is with you, empowering you to overcome whatever challenges come your way. Trust in his plan and know that he is working all things together for your good. Blessings to you as you continue on your journey with God. Stay strong, stay faithful, and keep trusting in his promises.